Hello and welcome to this presentation. My name is Aris Emmanouloudis and I'm a cultural analysis PhD candidate at the University of Amsterdam. Today's presentation is titled Twitch Played Pokemon and His Community Still Remembers. In my presentation, I will focus on the Twitch Plays Pokemon project, its rise and fall, and the attempt by its fans to maintain its legacy. For that, I will use lenses from media studies and studies on user-generated content. In February 2014, a new phenomenon entered the video game world. It was Twitch Plays Pokemon, a stream on Twitch, which was based on the Pokemon Red version game. What made it different from the regular Twitch gameplay streams was the fact that now viewers could input comments on the comment section and play the game, all the viewers simultaneously. Every input they would enter in the comment section would be translated into a move in the game. So you could imagine that there were thousands of people trying to play the game at the same time. It was, as it has been described, trying to play a game while there is 1,000 of other people trying to grab the controller from you and play themselves. It was set up by an anonymous streamer, which the only thing we know is that he is Australian and he is male, and it was left to the audience to engage and play. At the same time, the anonymous streamer was mainly distant, making changes anytime he thought it fit in order to make the game play smoother. But for the largest part of the stream and the game, the streamer remained distant. He was actually parallel to Arceus, the legendary deity Pokemon, which monitors and rarely interferes. So much like the Pokemon god Arceus, streamer has also been distant, ever present, and rarely interfering. As you can see, there are all sorts of directions in the comment section. There is also a Pokemon named AIIIRRR here because the simultaneous pressing of buttons led to some absurd results. This kind of interaction had as an outcome the creation of a larger narrative. A universe, if you will, in which the story was taking place. In charge of this narrative was an entity comprised of all the people playing, known as the Hive Mind. Some of the characters appearing during the gameplay were given names and properties on metatexts about the game. People on social media and communities such as Reddit would discuss the progress of the game and make stories about it. The most prominent story was that the main character was suffering from schizophrenia and could hear all those voices, and the voices were the thousands of players sending the comments. So he was a very confused person that would get all those directions from the voices in his head and didn't really know what to do. There were other sub-stories like a helix fossil, an item that appears in the game, is actually a manifestation of a benevolent god, whereas the dome fossil, an other item in the game, is supposed to be an artifact of evil. So people got really creative and they started making memes and fan art about different incidents in the game and the way they would interpret them. Such project managed to gather over 17 million views in the first days of its streaming, and it had about over 1 million participants just for the first gameplay. Then, of course, they continued, played other games, and they had a different number of participants. However, it managed to introduce the term crowd play, and it even left marks on the streaming industry. By that, I mean that other streams were inspired from it or tried to imitate the way it played. For example, there was marbles on stream that people could bet on the outcome of marble races. There was Twitch Plays Street Fighter and Twitch Plays Dark Souls, which I don't follow, but I'm sure it's quite a difficult task to complete. Now the stream keeps going, it's still there, it never stopped actually, and they keep playing different Pokemon games, sometimes also edited versions, hacked versions of Pokemon games. It's usually centered around Pokemon, and the audience can still participate and insert comments in the comment section, or sometimes when there are just Pokemon battles taking place, the viewers can bet on the winners. So that concept of interactivity and of putting the audience into the player's seat still exists. But it has dwindled down in popularity. The thousands of users of the past are not there anymore. So I'm wondering what brings such a crowded stream and community from thousands of viewers on a daily basis to about 135 on a Friday afternoon. And I would expect on a Friday afternoon the stream to be quite crowded, but unfortunately it wasn't. Let me present to you my research questions. First, what were the communal affordances that helped foster the Twitch Plays Pokemon community? And second, what are the archiving features that fans have used to keep the community alive? My methodology consists of 3 parts. First, a study by Axel Bruns on user-generated content features, which I used to examine the communal affordances of the stream. Second, content analysis, which is broken down in weekly watching for 2 months and a follow-up period, and following Twitch Plays Pokemon on Reddit and Discord. The 2 months I selected were the mid of January of this year till the mid of March of this year, and the follow-up period was in June, and that was because I wanted to let some time pass between the two parts of following the stream, and I would also expect that during the lockdown period that most of the countries were in, there will be heavier engagement in the Twitch Plays Pokemon community and in streaming in general. And the last part is an interview I had through Discord with the streamer, the person that was behind the stream. According to Axel Bruns, producer communities are characterized by 4 affordances. Producer is a portmanteau of producer and user. Now, these communities are first open and evaluated by the community itself. They are on a constant loop of feedback. That is also what makes them unfinished artifacts and also a continuing process. They never really have a particular end. They keep reinventing themselves. They keep having elements added to them. Third, they are characterized by fluid hierarchy and ad hoc meritocracy, which means that everyone gets rewarded according to their participation and according to their contribution to the community. And fourth, they are characterized by communal property. Everything belongs to the community. Now, I don't want to bother you with details, so I will not overanalyze this section. I will just say that the Bruins for affordances do apply, and this community is indeed characterized by open participation in the terms that it's free to anyone and open, and people can participate by playing or by sending comments and suggestions. It is also unfinished in the terms that it's a part of a bigger narrative and it has elements added to it all the time. Meritocracy and hierarchy exist because everyone gets rewarded according to their contributions in such a community, and some members manage to become more prominent and elevate their status and become moderators, for instance. And it is also something that belongs to the community. It's a communal property. So all in all, we are talking about a spontaneous grassroots community that was the brainchild of a video games fan, and it fast enough became a trending phenomenon. So the reason I'm using Bruce's theory is to show exactly that it is a user-generated content community, which means a lot of its traits are based on communal efforts. I will explain those communal efforts that kept the community alive and maintained its legacy in a moment. It had all the prospects to become an ever more popular stream, remain relevant, and get monetized, since monetization appears to be Twitch's primary scope. However, it disregarded a lot of Twitch's mainstream principles, such as camera or microphone, or adding a subscriber's notification, something that eventually happened much later, as the anonymous streamer admitted not feeling any obligation to do so. Therefore, I theorize that by disregarding the core principles of Twitch, but also not really planning long-term how to maintain the fanbase active, its popularity quickly dwindled down. However, those few members that have remained active in the small, now community, have found ways to preserve the stream's narrative and mythos created around it, which I will talk about in the next part. Examining what the Twitch Plays Pokemon project has offered in terms of content and interface, we see that on the stream's official page, there is an entire section showcasing unofficial communities. Those unofficial communities revolve around archiving the stream's storytelling. It has been up to the fans, and not the moderators, to document and archive the fan-generated elements of the stream's history, such as match results, music, memes, and chat. Exactly everything that fans themselves made. When asked about it, the anonymous streamer of Twitch Plays Pokemon told me that supporting the unofficial communities just seemed like a nice thing to do. It is not an overstatement to say that Twitch Plays Pokemon success is owed to a great extent to its fans and the work they put in order to circulate it. And here are some examples of fan art of user-generated content that followers of the stream made and they circulated online. One of my favorite examples was AskHelicFossil.com. That was a website based on Twitch Plays Pokemon's lore that the Helix fossil is a manifestation of a god, of a benevolent deity. So in that website you could, and you still can if you visit it, it's still up, you can ask any question and you will get a random answer from the Helix fossil god. Give it a go, try it. The Twitch Plays Pokemon interface makes sure to showcase all of those, although the actual administrators of Twitch Plays Pokemon haven't shown any interest to document the stream's history, at least not publicly. Moderators only document the technical elements. And sometimes they make references to the fan-made content, but not that often. I believe that this is a first sign that maintaining and archiving the fanis element, the elements that fans make, is a task that fans themselves have to fulfill. Earlier this year, in order to celebrate the stream's 6th anniversary, the Twitch Plays Pokemon administration team started the Gauntlet. The Gauntlet was a rerun of all the older playthroughs, which the viewers could participate again in from the start. And it featured, in a way, flashbacks to the highlights of the previous games. Of course, there was no shortage of Fanny's creativity in terms of memes and fan art, and mentions about it were posted daily on Reddit and Discord. Some of the older members even looked back to the early days with nostalgia. That created a small rise in terms of engagement, probably around 10%, but still not even close to the early days of the stream. Moving on to my observations and point of discussion. First, by examining this case, we can confirm what Henry Jenkins has written, that spectator culture becomes participatory culture now. However, in this case, it is that this participatory culture is also a hungry one. What I'm saying is that opposite to most cases of fan fiction, fans started looking for another source of inspiration after this particular source was exhausted. So after the main game was complete and the first main playthrough was complete, then most of the viewers just moved on to a different stream or to a different platform. So the participatory culture still exists, but they are constantly on the lookout for something new, for a new trend, if you will. It's difficult and it's not always granted that the people will remain within one particular fandom. This case also was a closed circle. It achieved its goal, but did not allow for an opening for something bigger. What I mean is that if something does not really have long-term plans for expansion, it might be something that fans will embrace at first, but it might be a one-hit wonder. It will be remembered from time to time, but it will no longer be a priority. At some point, it tried to play a bit by the rules and follow the guidelines that were set by other Twitch streams, like subscription notification or donation buttons or some other elements that you see on popular Twitch streams, but it was already late. It started as something very unorthodox, and not playing by the rules doesn't always guarantee long-term success. In addition, this particular community is now small but quite devout. A community like this one will probably end up with a few active members, and it will be their task to record and archive everything. I'm curious as to what happens to such project once those few followers stop as well, if they stop. Well, at least for now, it seems to be doing quite all right, and its few followers are bent to maintain its functions. I got to cut some slack to the streamer and the administrators of the stream, because since the moment the whole project started, the monitoring hasn't stopped. In our interview, the streamer told me that from February 2014 till now, he has always had a tab on his computer open, or a screen open with the Twitch Plays Pokemon stream, and he's always keeping an eye on what is going on. So there is a number of people that are quite interested and quite focused and invested on what is happening, and they're really fond of the community, but yeah, compared to how the situation was 6 years ago, it's not the same anymore. Next, in my research, I found that during the channel's streaming of past games and reruns of the early days of the stream. Fan activity on social media platforms was a little higher, and people were back in the players' seat, putting comments all over again, trying to relive the days of the stream's beginnings. So going back in time certainly motivates users to engage more with the text. And to be fair, one of the channel's main attractions was the fact that it featured the gameplay of one of the most beloved retro games, Pokemon Red. So, all in all, commodifying nostalgia is usually a successful marketing tactic. In a few words, nostalgia sells, but that is a topic for another time. And the last point is that this particular stream has certainly left its marks in the streaming industry. Its legacy also lives through other streams that have been inspired and incorporated the different elements that were showcased on Twitch Plays Pokemon, while people still talk about it and they still remember the memes and the fan art and the good old days.
This is my list of references. Thank you for your attention.